Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So today we are going to be reviewing Sonic Adventure. So Sonic Adventure is basically the first 3D Sonic game. But now let's look at Sonic's campaign. So, as you can see, I'm not wasting any time in this video because this video is going to be really big. Before I made this video, I looked at other people's reviews and I don't think people really understand what this game's trying to be because people just think this is supposed to be like the Genesis games, but in 3D. But that's not it. What this game's trying to be is its own thing, but capture that Genesis feel, but not trying to be a direct transition from the Genesis. Because people don't understand that in the reviews, and it just feels like they're just complaining about it then in a review. And I'm okay with people criticizing this game, but I don't think they should make it a review. They should just put a video about them criticizing things in Sonic Adventure than just a review. And I think that people just don't really know that this isn't supposed to be just like the Genesis game. It's trying to be its own thing. So Sonic Adventure is a pretty fun game. I had a lot of fun with this game. And the main thing they did with this game is give Sonic some new moves, like the light speed dash when there's a trail of rings, and the homing attack and the insta spin dash. And, I really like these moves. I mean, the homing attack doesn't really go that far, but I mean, it is pretty useful when trying to bounce on enemies, And the levels, all the Sonic levels are pretty fun. I had a lot of fun with all these levels. I really like all these levels. They have good set pieces, a lot of things going on in them, and I really like Sonic's campaign. And I'm a really big fan of the Insta Spin Dash. I mean, it was in Sonic Generations for Classic Sonic, and I thought that was really good in that game. And I really think it's really used well here because it would be hard for them to just do a spin dash button, to crash down and then spin dash. So they just decided to make Sonic just instantly spin dash and just go. And you can do some really cool stuff and shortcuts with this. And I really like it. I mean, there's a lot of action in these levels. It's in all levels basically, but for the highlights, in Speed Highway, and near the end of the level, well, it's not really the end, it's kind of the middle because it's a dawn part. Well, you run down a building, which is really cool, and you can actually do a lot of stuff during this. And then in Red Mountain, I think that's what it's called, you go down a hang glider thing or a zip line, and then these levels just have you do a lot, and it's really cool to see every level be unique in its own way. I mean, in the first few levels, there aren't gonna be really open spots. I mean, there is gonna be shortcuts, but not really anything too crazy. But in the later levels, you can see that the game opens up a lot more, and you can see in the beta of Windy Valley, they were trying to make the levels a lot bigger, but they decided to scrap it because it would take too much time and effort. Hub worlds in this game? Well, I'm not a big fan of hub worlds in games. I don't really like it here that much, but I think it's done better than a lot of other games I've played. But now we're going to talk about the bosses. I mean, I'm going to talk about the bosses for Sonic's campaign. And, I mean, some of them are pretty simple. The Knuckles fight is really simple. You just hit him a few times and it's over, and I'm completely fine with that. And then the first boss, I mean, it's the first thing you ever see in Sonic's campaign, and the Chaos boss fight's actually pretty cool. It's a really cool set piece, and I really like it. But then there's fights like Chaos 4, and it does go on and drag a little bit for a little too long. And Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles also have to do this fight. But I'll get to that once I get through Sonic's campaign. But the bosses here aren't really that, like, break of pace. Like, some of them end pretty quickly, which I'm a fan of, because I don't want the bosses to ruin the game, like, Sonic Superstars. But there are some things in Sonic's campaign, like the Sky Chase levels, and, well, there's only 2, but these really suck. All you have to do is just go in a circle, and just shoot, and you'll be all good. You also have to do these Sky Chase levels as Tails, but we'll get to that later. And the final boss in Sonic's campaign is not really that good, to be honest. I mean, it's not a bad boss, but I just feel like this boss just takes a long time, and, well, it makes sense since it's the final boss, obviously. But I'm not really a big fan of the final part where, like, there's these platforms you need to stand on, and if, like, you don't stand on them, like, at the right time, then you just fall off. And I'm not really a big fan of that, to be honest, though. But that's the end of Sonic's campaign. Sonic's campaign was a pretty good campaign, and, well, this is the first campaign you can actually play until you unlock the other characters. But yeah, Sonic's campaign is really fun and good. But now we're going to check out Tails' campaign. So let's do this. Because Tails completely breaks levels. I mean, literally you can look at this as early as the first stage. Because you can literally just fly down the whole level without touching the ground. You can beat it in, like, almost, like, 30 seconds. Like, Tails is that broken. And what they should have done, well, an easier solution was maybe make a puzzle for Tails, like puzzle levels, to actually use his flight to his advantage, instead of putting him in Sonic stages and just putting, like, boosters everywhere for him flying and putting every stage as a race. Like, I really did not like that, because I'd rather have them not put a race, because there's no way Tails is faster than Sonic. It's really obvious that Sonic can do way better. And also, like I said earlier, Tails also has these Sky Chase levels, and the fact that you also have to play 2 of these also as Tails is just really annoying. And Tails' campaign starts, like, kind of like Sonic's campaign, so you're basically playing Sonic's campaign again, just as Tails. But also, in some of the levels, you can just easily break all their AI, Sonic and Eggman's AI. You can easily just break it. And, I think they'll start teleporting if you go, like, too far off from them. And it still doesn't help, because you can easily beat them. And I really wish that Tails' campaign was better, but I mean, I still like his campaign, because I did have a lot of fun playing as Tails, and his controls were really good. And yeah, Tails' campaign's pretty fun, in my opinion, but it's not really the best handled. And Tails doesn't really have any abilities like Sonic does. I mean, yeah, he can roll, and he has this, like, spin attack with his tail. But that's really it. He can't spin dash. Because when I first played this game, I thought Tails could spin dash. But yeah, Tails also has to play through Chaos 4, so yeah. And during Tails' campaign, it just feels like I was playing more filler content than actually just playing normal levels. And maybe what they should have done with Tails 2 is maybe just, like, have him climb the level or something. Or just, like, do something, like, really cool with his flight skills. And yeah, as you can see here, Tails is just in, like, a sand. I think it's like a sub game or something. And I mean, this is kind of fun, actually, not gonna lie. But it just feels like they're just trying to pad out Tails' campaign, because they don't really know what to do with him. And while Sonic is in Lost World, Tails has to save the city because Eggman's trying to destroy it with like a rocket launcher or something like that. And it's up to Tails to stop Eggman. And the Tails' final boss is unique out of all the bosses, but I don't really like this fight. So basically, what you have to do in this boss fight is like you have to like hit Eggman like with a jump or just like a spin attack with Tails' tail and then jump on him. But this boss takes so long and it just drags so much. But yet again, it is the final boss though. And yeah, that's Tails' campaign. So while Tails' campaign isn't the best in terms of like what they could do with him, it just felt like he was placed in the game because he was like part of the classic games. I do think Tails' campaign is some fun, and yeah, I like Tails' campaign. And I hope next time Tails gets used better because it just feels like he was placed in. But now let's look at Knuckles' campaign. And Knuckles works way differently from Sonic and Tails in terms of levels. So what Knuckles has to do in his stages is like he has to look around for the Master Emerald shards, and I thought this was a good compromise for Knuckles' gameplay, because if he was just placing Sonic's levels, he would break the level like Tails did. So that's why they made him like play a playstyle that's like really good and fun. I mean, it may not be as good as Sonic's levels, but it's a good compromise. I mean, Knuckles' controls are really fun and good, and yeah, I think they're really fun to do, in general. And the radar is actually really helpful in finding these emeralds, because you can just like find them all in one time, because like they can all spot each other at once, which makes it a lot better and more fun instead of just making this a pace breaker. And I don't know why, but like I feel like this game's like jumping ball animation, it just looks really good. I don't know why. Maybe it's just me, but I really like the jump ball of this game. Anyway, Knuckles goes into places where Sonic would never go to, and I find this really cool because Tails just goes through Sonic's levels with just different objects lying around, but Knuckles goes to like spots Sonic would never see, and it just feels really cool instead of just replaying the same levels over and over again. And Knuckles does have like some new abilities, kinda, because he can use his like punch attack thing, and he can crawl into like the ground. And yeah, Knuckles also has to do Chaos 4, so yeah, I don't really get what's so good about this fight, because we have to play it 3 times just to get out of it in all 3 of the campaigns. And Knuckles' boss fights in general are okay. I mean, they aren't too bad, to be honest, but I mean, you still have to play Chaos 4, and I don't really like playing this fight. But other than some of that, I think Knuckles' campaign is really fun and good, and I'm really glad that they just didn't put Knuckles and Sonic's levels just like Tails they did with Tails. And Knuckles has a decently long campaign, because some of the campaigns in this game are pretty short. Like Amy, for example, like she has 3 levels, and yeah, I don't know why, but like Sonic has the longest campaign, which does make sense since he's literally the name of the game is Sonic Adventure. But I do think like some of the characters could have had more time to shine, but it's okay. And the final boss is okay, I guess. Not gonna lie, this is kind of one of the most forgettable fights in Sonic Adventure, but it isn't too bad because, I mean, it does work with Knuckles' abilities where like he can just glide into chaos, and yeah, and chaos freezes, which is kind of cool, and the ground like starts like falling down. But I mean, yeah, Knuckles' campaign is pretty fun and good. And instead of just jumping to the screen like Sonic and Tails do at the end of their campaign, Knuckles like says, "I may not know the story about this, but perhaps it's better that way." But yeah, that ends Knuckles' campaign, and now we get to move to Amy's campaign. So Amy is a completely different character from Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles in terms of like playstyle, because she wasn't even playable in any of the classic games, so she had to work differently. I mean, she was in Sonic CD, but you couldn't even play as her in that game. She can't roll into a ball, she can't spin dash, because she has these hammer attacks, and there's a spin attack you unlock, like when you're playing as Amy during the game, and I think Amy's playstyle gets a little boring at times, but it isn't that bad. I had a good time with Amy. And the best thing about like Sonic Adventure is that if you don't want to play any of the other campaigns, that's totally up to you. You can literally just play as Sonic the whole time, and there isn't any like annoying playstyles that you're forced to do. You can just play as Sonic the whole entire time. And you may think that Amy like doesn't really visit like any different areas in Sonic and well all the other characters, but Amy goes through completely different areas. Like it is insanely different. It's not just like the top of Red Mountain. It's like completely different. Like something you've never seen in the game at all. Like it's really different. These areas are really unique, and I think it's really makes up for it having only 3 stages. And while I think Amy's campaign's okay and good at sometimes, I do think that her just playstyle in general is just pretty fun. Well, it's not like fun as Sonic's, but it's nice. And her bosses are, I mean, they're okay. Like the final boss is against Zero, that's been following you around since the first stage in the game. And this boss, easy, not bad, just a normal Amy boss, I guess. And I think that that's just basically Amy's campaign. Just Zero like chasing Amy, and she has to overcome and become a better person, I guess. Man, it sounds so cringy. But yeah, Amy's campaign, while not like the best, it's pretty cool. But now we have to look at Big's campaign. And Big is really different. And I think the point of like adding Big into this game is to like put like fishing, like to see what the Dreamcast is capable of, and Big's campaign is not really that good, to be honest. I mean, it's not like bad because like you can like fish, and I find this really weird because I don't even know what was going on with Sega in the like 2000s or like in the 3D games, because in Sonic Adventure you have multiple play styles. In Sonic Adventure 2 you're forced to play like these stages, the mech and treasure hunting stages, and then Sonic 06 there's like different parts of every character, and then in Sonic Unleashed there's a daytime Werehog. Sonic Generations, it was like Modern Sonic and Classic Sonic. It was just like you just multiple playstyles in like every game. I mean, sometimes they're fun, but most of the time I don't really like them. I just want to play as normal Sonic, not just like play a completely different playstyle, and I don't really find Big's fishing to be that fun. And this guy's best friends with a frog, which is kind of sad, to be honest. And Big runs so slow, well, he walks so slow, and I don't really just find controlling him that fun. He doesn't really have any abilities besides fishing, and Big's bosses, you just fish, and I don't really like Big's campaign. It's just, it just feels forced in. like kind of like Tails, but Tails was way better than Big. But now let's look at E102 Gamma's campaign. So some people don't really like Gamma's campaign, but I actually really like it. Like, Gamma moves pretty fast and you can like shoot things at really high speeds, and Gamma actually like most other characters, he goes in like a lot of different areas and levels where Sonic would never see, and you can actually see how like threatened Eggman is, and like how like powerful Eggman is, and like how disciplined he is, and it's really cool. And I do think that Gamma's stages go by a little too fast, but I mean, at least they're not overstaying their welcome like Big stages. In areas like Emerald Coast, he does go through like basically the same level as Sonic, but with just different objects, and like you can't go through the loop-de-loops because like Gamma's not Sonic. But I do think Gamma's stages are pretty like fun. Like they have like good like gameplay, and the controls are nice, and like he can just shoot. Because I think people have been asking for like a shooter thing in like these Sonic games, so I guess this was a good compromise for that. So you could play as Gamma if you want to, you can play as Sonic, it's all optional, which I really like about this game. And I like how Gamma has this hover ability where he can just like fly or glide or whatever you call it for a few seconds, and I find this really useful like when platforming. And yeah, it's not like as good as Sonic's campaign, because Sonic is really fun to play as in this game, especially with the instant spin dash. The level design there is really good, and I just find this to be really impressive though. But Gamma's bosses are a joke. Like, look at this boss right here. That was like 5 seconds. Like, I don't even know what to say to that. And then, like, look at this boss with Sonic over here. Just, look at this. This is, like, extremely easy. But, I mean, I don't really care. I'm glad that the bosses are easy as long as they don't, like, drag. And, this boss right here, I put on, like, the extra, like, speed, because, like, this boss does take a while, but, I mean, I guess if you want a longer boss, I guess this boss is for you, and it is really climactic when the game, like, becomes to an end. And you can see how Gamma just becomes, like, from a person that just worked with Eggman to a person that actually helps, like, the team in general. And I really like Gamma's campaign. It's probably my top 3 campaigns, or top 4, one of those. And yeah, Gamma's campaign is pretty good. I actually like this campaign. And well, the bosses are basically a joke. I mean, except for the last one. But near the end, something sad happens where Gamma actually sacrifices himself for, well, to save I think the birds, or something. Like, look, right here. Gamma unfortunately dies, which is pretty sad because, like, he basically just, like, saved the day, but now we don't get to see him anymore because he's gone. But yeah, one of the sadder Sonic deaths. So glad the devs actually just, like, killed him, because, like, he wouldn't really have a big role to play in the future Sonic games. And the flickies or birds or whatever, like, that Gamma seeds are actually, like, the siblings, or like the family to the ones Amy was saving, and that was a pretty cool detail. You can see in Amy and Gamma's campaign if you see them side by side. But yeah, Gamma's campaign, while it ended pretty sadly, I do think it was a pretty good campaign. But But now for the final campaign, which is Supersonic. And yeah, it's just one boss fight, and yeah, just pretty straightforward boss. Well, final boss. So basically what you have to do here is like go to like Chaos to destroy its like head or thing. And as you can see here, the city's completely flooded and the buildings are destroyed. And yeah, it looks really cool to see Sonic like running on water. I mean, yeah, we did see that in Sonic 3, but it's a lot cooler here because you can actually see like how Sonic runs on water in 3D. But this part of the game does feel rushed because like it just ends pretty fast here. But I mean, they did do a lot with this game. There's a lot of cutscenes, a lot of stages, a lot of extra content in this game. So I can see why they rushed it. I thought it was perfectly fine that they rushed it because they did a lot with this game. And I talked about the hub worlds, I talked about the campaigns, and as you can guess, you can only play Sonic in the final boss. But I mean, that is fine because like that was a thing in Sonic 3, and yeah, I mean it wasn't a thing in Sonic 2. You can only play in the stages. So yeah, but the ending of Sonic Adventure was certainly one that was not forgettable at all. But we're still gonna talk about Metal Sonic. And, well, he doesn't play a part in the story, but you can play as him at the end of the game. Well, like, as an unlockable, I think. I think he's really hard to get. But once you actually get him, he literally plays the exact way as Sonic. But it is a cool reward to see Metal Sonic here, because as you can tell, he wasn't in the actual game or story, but it is a cool fallback to Sonic CD, which is like the lastest game he's been in. And I didn't talk about all the stages in this game, because, well, I mean, I didn't talk about the stages because there was going to be a lot to go through in this video, and this video is already long enough as it is. But as I was saying about Metal Sonic, he was a cool inclusion, like as a playable character, even though he's just a reskin of Sonic. And there's also a Chow guarding, and I don't really care for these because I don't really like care about the Chows that much. But these are here if in case like people want a mention from this. So yeah. But I think you can play these as any character, but I mean, as you can guess, I don't really care about these. But there are different maps, and there is also different ports for this game, which is the Dreamcast version, and the DX version, which is the GameCube. But then, I think in the 2010s, it got ported to like the newer consoles, like the Xbox, PC, and stuff. But people have said that like those newer versions are a lot glitchier, and the Dreamcast textures do look better, but I don't really like the models of the Dreamcast that much. It doesn't really look like Sonic. But in some areas, the Dreamcast stages don't really look that good, and it does run at like 30 FPS. So I think the definitive ways, in my opinion, is probably the GameCube from Sonic Adventure DX, well, Director's Cut, which wasn't even made by the original director. But I think people just like the Dreamcast version because, well, like it was the first version. Because I feel like if it came like as a second version, people would say this is worst. But I mean, I'm not trying to blame you guys. But there is also mods where like you can actually see like what the game was trying to be at first. Like there was one like with the classic Sonic models, because this game was supposed to have classic Sonic models, but it got changed because of the redesign. And there was supposed to be Super Sonic in the original, because I actually thought there was Super Sonic in the original, where you can play it as him in the stages, but you couldn't. But here it's a lot cooler and you can see what Supersonic is actually capable of. And yeah. But that's the end of this really long review. And I hope you guys have a good day. And see you next review.